What you should expect from this video. First, we'll understand what are the identifiers and keywords in Python. Then we'll see what are the rules for writing identifiers. Then we'll see what are the best practices to follow and how we can use them. I am going to share with you very important takeaways at the end of this video that every Python programmers need to know, regardless you are a beginner or an intermediate student. Let's find out after this intro. Welcome to another video. My name is Ajay. If this is your first time here and you want to learn programming languages or enhance your coding skills from beginners to professional, you are in the right place. We will cover plenty of other programming languages and the best practices, tips and tricks which will help you to grow in your career. Then start now by clicking the subscribe button and the bell notification. Okay, so this video is going to be a little bit different. In the last video, we have seen how to install a Python. So once you have installed a Python successfully, you should be having IDLE. So you can just go ahead and search IDLE. So this is a built-in IDE for a Python and which we are going to use for this video. And if you are in a Windows system, you can also easily find that IDLE. So that comes with a default package with that Python. Right, so let's start with the Python identifiers. So what are identifiers? So an identifier is a name given to an entity like class, function and variables. For example, if we create any variable, we are creating a variable a and we are putting some values. We are creating a variable b and assigning 20 values, right? So these names are identifiers for variables. So we can easily identify with that name. So it's called an identifier. So it could be a variable name, or it could be a function name, or it could be a class name. So we'll talk about a class and functions in our later videos. For now, just remember that identifier is just a name which is given to any variable, class and functions. And let's move into to understand what are the rules for writing identifiers, because it's very crucial to understand and follow the rules which Python provides. So if you are not going to follow these rules, Python will give a syntax error. We'll look into that step by step. So the first rule is we can use identifier name with a combination of lowercase and uppercase letter, and we can also include numbers, and we also use underscore for the identifiers. So for example, create a variable called where we are assigning some string called hello. So this is a simple example. So we can create a variable name with a lowercase letters, right? We can also create a variable name with so that could be applied for the variable name, class name and that function, right? So I'm giving you example for variables. So we can also create a variables, and this time we'll assign the string in capital letters, right? So observe here one thing. So we have created two variables. One is where in small letters, another is where in capital letters. So both in Python word, both are treated differently because Python is a case sensitive language. So if we print out where, so it prints a small hello in a small letters, and if we want to print another variable which we have defined, it prints hello message in capital letters. So in Python world, both the variables treated differently, right? So we have created variable with a lowercase and uppercase, and now I'll just try with creating a variable with combination of uppercase and lowercase. So let's see Python allow us to create that variable. So I will use the same variable name with combination. small letter and capital letter, and this time I will provide hello in some new format, right? So see, Python is not giving any error, so this combination is also allowed. So we can define any variable name, class name, or function name in this manner, right? And also we can use a numbers like variable 7 equal, giving an example, hello from 7, something like that, right? So we are not getting any error. So it means Python allows us to use these combinations. So we can also use underscore in that case. So if I create a variable with underscore where, and I'm printing a message underscore hello, right? So we are not getting an error. And if you want me to print that, I will just quickly print it for you. Here it is, right? So we have seen these combinations, the small letters, capital letters, and combination of small and capitals with numbers and with underscore. So these are that variables name and that combination which we can use. So let's see what are the variables names which we cannot use. I mean, is it possible to use any kind of combination or a special character or something like that, or special symbols we can use for variable names? Let's find out. So the first rule is identifiers cannot be start with a digit. So let's see example. If I am giving a variable name 7 where equal to, and I am assigning hello 7. Let's see what happens. Yep. So Python just immediately give an error, syntax error, invalid syntax. Why? Because in Python word we cannot assign any name starting with any digit, right? So this is not allowed in Python. And what else is not allowed? We cannot use any keyword name with identifiers. For example, Python have a keyword called for. So there is a for loop, right? And if you want to use that same name for our variables or any function or classes, anything, any entity for the Python, so we cannot use. Let's see an example. If I'm trying to use a for as a variable name and assigning value 10, in that case Python will also give me a syntax error, what is calling invalid syntax. So we cannot use any keywords as a identifier. And let's see another one. What we cannot use, we cannot use special symbols, exclamation mark, @ hash, pound sign. Special symbols we cannot use with that identifier names. Let's see an example. So if I'm trying to use a special symbol with a variable name and assigning some value, Python will give me error. If I'm also trying something like this combination, Python give me error. If I am starting with that hash, variable name equal to any value, here we are not getting any error because in Python this treated is a differently. So this is a actual comment. So whenever we want to comment out any part of the code, we use that hash. So ultimately we cannot use this symbol for the defining identifiers. Likewise the pound. Okay, so these are the rules which you need to keep in mind while defining identifiers. So we will cover the best practices for writing Python code like a pro in upcoming videos. So there are some set of predefined rules which every Python programmer should use or should follow. That is also known as the Puppet rules. So don't worry if you don't know anything about the Puppet for now. I'm going to cover the Puppet in very detail, and you will gradually come to know about that, what are the best practices and what things we can use, what things we cannot use. So here we have completed identifier, and now we are moving to Python keywords. So let's first understand what is keywords. So not in a Python, in any general programming languages, you will find the identifier in Python terminology. The keywords are the reserved words in any programming languages that is used to define the syntax and the structure of that programming language. Those are the special words which we cannot use as a identifiers. So they have a preset of rules, and that rules are used internally for that particular language. So in short, you just understand for now, we cannot use any keywords as identifier names. Be it we are defining function, be it we are defining class, be it we are defining any variable, so we cannot use that. Likewise, identifier keywords also case sensitive. So what does it mean? So in Python, we have a keywords. So let's first print out all that keywords. What are the keywords we have? So you can print out all the keywords using this command help, and in single quote, just print keywords. So here we can see the list of Python keywords, right? So what do I mean by that case sensitive? Here you can see the false, none, and true. These are the only three keywords in Python which are starting with the capital letters. Other than that, all the keywords are starting with the small letters. So this is one thing you should keep in mind. So in Python, false is a keyword, means it has a predefined meaning inside the Python, and if I want to use as a variable, I cannot use it. Python give me a syntax error. So can I use in a different way? Like if Python keyword is start with a capital letter false, so I can use a small f. Let's find out. Yep, did you observe something? We are not getting any syntax error because in Python world this false and this false treated differently. This false is a keyword because it's starting with a capital one, and here there is no keyword called a false with a small letter. We have a keyword false starting with capital letters. So here you can see we are having a capital letters and the small letters with the same name. This is a keyword in Python. If I want to use as a variable name, I cannot use it. If I tweak this and want to use something like this, I can use it because it's case sensitive. There is no keyword called AND with a starting capital A. There is a keyword called AND which is in lowercase. So this is case sensitive. We have also seen the first method how to print out the keywords, and there is another method if you want to check. I just import keyword and let's try to print a list of keywords in a list format. Yeah, so this is another way you can print out all the keywords in a list format. So looking at all that keywords at once and trying to figure out what they mean, you might be confused, and there's no need for understand each and everything at once. In our upcoming videos, we are going to talk about all the keywords and we will cover each and every keywords in that list. So don't worry about it. So we have covered identifiers and keywords here, and here we come for the takeaways. So the first thing you should be remember, the Python is case sensitive language if you are using for identifiers or keywords. So if you are defining any variables, as I have already shown with a small letter and capital letters, so in Python world these are treated differently. So these are two different variables. So Python is a case sensitive language. So another tip would be to always name your identifiers which make sense. Let's take an example. So suppose you have a program where you are tracking the counter and you have defined that variable c equals to something like 10. So this is not a good practice to define any identifiers. You should define identifier which makes sense. Later on, when you open your program after a month, after 2 months, or after 6 months, or after an year, you should be in position to understand by reading your program, right? So if I use, instead of c, if I use count as identifier name and using any value in Python word, the rules are allowing us to use that name, but it's not a good practice. The good practice is to provide the name, any identifier names which make sense. So later on when you see your programs, you would be able to understand why you have used that particular identifier. So that would be another takeaway. And the next tip would be, so it's a good idea to use underscore for long variables names. So for example, if you have a variable name called this is a long variable, I mean, it's not a good practice to define any identifier like this because it's very hard to read. If you have such situation, you can use underscore to separate your variables, right? So if you separate your variables like this, so it's more readable. So that would be another takeaway. And the another tip would be, there are only 3 keywords which are starting with the capital letters. Other than that, all the keywords are starting with a lowercase. Why this is important? Because sometimes we forget that keyword which we are using, it start with the capital letters or small letters. So as I already said, Python is a case sensitive. So Python have keyword called false, and you don't remember that keyword start with a capital letter or small letter. If you are using false in a small letter, that treats differently. I mean, this false and this false, they have a different meanings, right? So this is a keyword, this is a simple name, always remember this. And another takeaway would be, so there are two methods which we have seen to list out all the keywords in Python languages. The first method which we have seen, the help. In help function we are providing the keywords and it lists out all the keywords which are present. And the another method which we have seen, we are importing the keyword and we are just printing the keywords in a list format. So these are the two methods which you can list out your all the keywords. If you enjoy this video and would like to support my channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you won't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching this video and I see you in the next video.